Okay, we're going to start our video critique of shooting assignment number 4, Lights and Shadows. And generally speaking, when I start, like as you know, I always like um, to take a look generally at all the works together, like I'm doing right now, and to get an idea. And we've got some strong work here. Obviously, we've got a lot of play with lights and shadows, very considered work. So kudos to you guys. Remember that in order to take photos, you have to have your cameras with you. Some of you are realizing, you see something when you don't have your camera, and it's a little frustrating. Unfortunately, one of the things about being a photographer is you've got to have your camera. So just be sure that you're carrying your camera so that when you do see those photo moments that make you think about the assignment or something that you'd like to capture for yourself personally. Excuse me, that's a little shot of coffee. That you're able to record it. Otherwise, you're going to be generally rushing it towards the end and trying to get something that you're proud of. You can generally tell just by looking, at the overall that some pictures people are very proud of. You can just tell. And some that they're more like satisfying in the assignment, and that happens. But again, folks, please, try to make that the exception and not the rule. All right, let's get cracking with. We'll start at the very beginning. Before I start though, I want to show you one of the reasons why we have our naming policy is let me see, where's the desktop? Here we go. Naming examples. If you look at this right here, you're able to see why we have the naming policy here. Everything looks in order. This is really nice and organized, but then a couple people forgot to name their images. So folks, please don't do that. You're going to lose points unnecessarily, and it's just going to kill your grade. Please pay attention to that. It kills me, but you got to see the video critiques to see where you can improve your grade and what have you. But let me see. I see how to get out of that. There we go. Um, so, yeah, I'm trying to I'm trying to remind you guys to pay attention to those things, but it's up to you to do the work. All right, as usual, we have the work starting out with Haley. Haley, once again, some really nice stuff. Um, all of them were shot in manual, so kudos to you. This is what I'm looking at right here. You're going to get it, and all your pictures are creative, very strong. Some more than others, as is wont to be. And just cycling through them, looking at the histogram and the whatchamacallits, metadata, and you could see that we're all over the place. ISO 3200, ISO 100, all manual, good stuff. Really appreciate that you're challenging yourself that way. You're going to get it, Haley. And even a picture as simple as this, very strong. As always, you've named them correctly and sized them correctly, so I'm not going to mention that unless someone hasn't at this point. But very simple picture, but you got it in focus. So you've got the filaments that are perfectly in focus. Really, this took some time and you had to really work on. I mean, look at the metadata here, folks. 1/4000th at f5.6. That's pretty darn. You had to. I'm sure this took a little bit of playing with. You might have been hand holding it, in which case you didn't need a tripod. If you wanted to, for example, have a lot of things in focus, like even this part, um, the I don't know, GE or whatever it is. If you want to have that in focus, then you could have had it on a tripod, set it up with the same framing, and you could have had a really slow exposure and a very small aperture, and that way you would have gotten much more in focus. Let me see what kind of lens you're using. 18-55, so that's stock, so that's really good that you got this sharp focus. Kudos to you, Haley. This is really wonderful. Just very poetic, soft, not too flat, not too contrasty, just right. I mean, you managed to put feeling into the photos, and that's always uh, that's always great to see. Okay, here again, this one too, very quiet. I really like the sensitivity of your focus. They're quiet moments, and I like that. You've got a vignette. It's not going too heavy. It's starting to, but it's not suspiciously heavy. By suspiciously, I mean that it calls attention to itself, and I think you've done a really good job. This one too. They're very quiet, very nice, thoughtful pictures. 1/100th of a second at f16. So here you've got the opposite of what you had with the light bulb. Um, just closed down and a shorter period of time. Yes, in this case, 1/100th of a second is much less than the 4,000th. But very nice, very simple, and it has a feeling to it. So very nice. This one I think is your least strong, but I can still see what you're going for. Maybe it's because I have a personal, I don't know, predilection against or pet peeve against seeing wall texture. And I don't know, it's no big deal. It's just one of those things. But I see what you're looking at and that you're studying the shapes, and I like the sensitivity of your eye. Haley, really good stuff. Because you are evidently an advanced shooter, the only thing I can really tell you is to challenge yourself more. Um, uh, the Because you have a lot, then you have to push a bit more. But it looks like you're challenging yourself, and I think this one is to me my favorite. I don't know which one yours is. It might even be this one. I don't know, or even this one. Sometimes you'll see, especially if you ever get into product photography, you'll see that people go to great extremes to making sure there's no anomalies or aberrations. Having a clean bulb and all that kind of stuff just makes. And then, when you're doing product photography, you have to watch for all the reflections, and it takes a great amount of control and knowledge to be able to do that. But something to think about. As usual, excellent job, Haley. Very good. Next, we have the work of Sarah Bone, and yeah, good stuff here again. I didn't feel, you've got skill too. That's quite evident, especially from your first stuff, that it resounded with confidence. And here I'm getting confidence out of a couple of them, but not so much out of a couple other ones. Again, you're starting to put. I can see why you're photographing each one of these, and that's. And that's good. I did notice that you were shooting all of them in normal, so you want to change that. I know you've got a point and shoot, or you're shooting with, but see about playing with the other program modes. You'll get more control out of it, and that will increase your challenge points and technical points as well. So just be aware of that. Yeah, all of them were shot in. What was it? Normal, but this one is by far my favorite right here. It's just so elegant, very nice. It's a simple shot. We've got a little bit of a peaker here, and these are things that become, when you're photographing essentialism or something that's just focused on a thing or an essence, then something that doesn't belong there becomes an anomaly, anomalous. So the viewer, whether they're photo snobs or photo trained or not, they're going to sense it. They're not necessarily going to know why. It's like a distraction. But this is just a beautiful picture. So nice, perfectly exposed. It's a little soft on the focus, but I think it works perfectly here. This one too, I like it. There's energy. Off the reflection off of a car. Nice. I like your angle. It's good. I like the empty space up here. It works really nice. Strong vignette. Good. Creative. This one too, I can see what you're going for, but I think it says so much less than this one and this one. Now, am I being overly critical? You might say that I'm nitpicking, but you're showing such confidence in this one and this one that this one kind of stands out. This one, the feeling's there. I like it. It's a quiet moment. You brought yourself down to the level of the grass and the weeds, the weeds. And it's a nice exposure right here. You've got this telephone line that's coming in here, but that's just a detail or power line. I don't know if you could see it. Really nice. Again, putting feeling into photos is one of the most difficult things. That's when you start knowing that you're working in the realm of interpretation rather than simply capturing. Um, I hope that makes sense. This one too, I can see what you're going for. Very elegant, very minimalist. I like the aesthetic, but here, again, it looks like they're all perfectly suited for lights and shadows. It's just when you show that you're starting to flex your creative muscle, and I can see that you have it. I kind of want to see you develop it more. So you've got, I think, two really strong ones, 2.5, but all in all, very good. Shoot more, Sarah. Shoot more. Okay, next we have the work of Cheyenne Brown. Let's see what we have for Cheyenne. I'm looking at my notes. One day I'll scan in a copy of the worksheet that I print out for every um, shooting assignment video critique, where I look at this. I break down the different sections of naming and sizing, challenge, technical, creative, intro, the quality of the post, etc. Quality of the post basically means that it looks good when you post it. So if we look at, for example, like here, we're looking at Haley's at first. It's really nice. There's space in between photos. We can look at them nice. And it's very clean. Some of you will come to find out that you can actually change the color of the background. You don't want to make it too distracting, and you can actually even put them into what is it called? Float them in the medium. I'm losing the word right now, but so that they all come, in the middle. And I could see the button clicker, but I'm just forgetting its name. What a geek. Okay, a couple notes that I made for myself. Here, you're shooting all of your images in normal, and let me see. What am I doing? Sometimes I gotta slow down. All right, looking at specifically your metadata, and I'm going to cycle through the photos. So you're shooting it all normal. You've got point and shoot, but figure out how to use your camera so that you're using some of the program modes, which will give you more control, which will show me that you're challenging yourself more and that you're understanding what the different combinations of shutter speed versus aperture and ISO do. You've got to watch your focus on some of these, Cheyenne. Here it's good. I can see what you're photographing, but I'm not sure what you're doing with it. So yep, it's lights and shadows inevitably, and pretty good stuff. This one is just way too out of focus to be appreciated fully. If we look at the metadata at 0.4 second, it's really slow. I'm imagining that you rested on here the organ, the synthesizer, but I'm not necessarily sure. Maybe that's also why it has the askew angle, but it's still 0.4 seconds, and it's very, very soft. There's a motion blur. Oftentimes, motion blur occurs even though you're resting it on a surface. Just by clicking the shutter, you're moving the camera. So in that case, when you guys are doing this, especially when you get to your self-portraits, you want to learn how to use the self-timer. All the cameras that we're using, I believe even most of the smartphones have self-timers of 2, 5, and 10 seconds. At least 2 and 10. So check it out. Again, this is 1/6 of a second, looking down, descending into a hallway of many boxes. So I could see, I think, what you're getting to metaphorically, but it's a little soft, and it's I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this one. I agree with some of the comments that you got on. This is by far your strongest, in my opinion. We see, this beautiful triangular shape in this plane of planes created by the shadow. So this is, I think, the most concerted one. This one seems to be the most confident one. I would agree with some of the comments that you got. The other ones you're looking around, but they don't seem like you're interpreting quite yet. You're capturing. And let me know if you have any questions about that. See, the soft focus here is just too soft. Same thing here. So just be aware of that. Don't lose points by just shooting the normal, not normal stuff, but always in the same way, which means putting it in the same program or not adjusting your technical. Remember, this is your homework right now is to read chapter 6, and this is a big chapter. Please read it, review it. Our next chapter is chapter 7, which is program modes, which is going to be very helpful for those of us who want to learn how to use, aperture value or shutter value. All right, let's go now. Let me see. Did I say that right? Did I skip? Let me see. What did I do wrong? No, I'm okay. We're talking about Cheyenne's. Now we're talking about Mary's. Mary Cosgrove. Okay, all in manual. All the images you shot were in manual. Fantastic. Love it. You're pushing yourself. I like when I see that. It tells me that you're paying attention, taking the time to photograph specifically for what you want. And okay, this is pretty nice. It's a little bit soft on the focus. We're at 1/400th of a second, so I'm not exactly sure why that happened. But it's nice and a clean representation of it. Um, Here again, it's similar to this when you're seeing something and looking. I like that you're exposed specifically for the clouds. Look at that. You're at 400, and you're at 400th of a second at f22. Um, so good on you. But there's a lot of stuff going on here. I don't know if the relationship that you're trying to point out is, the antenna, going into, or I guess this is a tower of repeaters. That in the sky. I don't know if that's what you're going to, but there's a lot of stuff otherwise that may not be, well, that may be superfluous. That may, I don't know, but I like the elements here that you've got the organic, and then you've got the tower of repeaters here. Um, Again, when your photo radar goes off, try to show us, what is it? What's the feel of it? What is it that's drawing you? What's that that gasping moment? So here you've got the nice rays of sun. That's pretty good. Here another dramatic shot. Um, so I think it's very good that you're shooting in manual. Let me see, Mary. Let's see if I can see. Right. Okay, where are you? That's Cheyenne. Okay, Mary Cosgrove. Here we go. Okay, I like that you've got a lot of information, and that's really good. It's going to take you a lot of pictures, and the more the pictures that you take, the more that you're going to get it, and the more things are going to click for yourself. Not so much, to just satisfy the assignments. You'll realize, very, very soon, if you haven't already, folks, that capturing, for the, just I don't know if you guys have ever heard, and this is not specifically geared towards you, Mary, but there's a word called perfunctory, and it's a funky word, but it means doing just the basic minimum to get by, and in order to get beyond that, because it's really easy to just do perfunctory job, capture what is a um, requisite for the assignment. It's pretty simple, but to make it interesting, and what is interesting? Well, what's interesting to you? If it's interesting to you, or if it means something to you, its chances are it's going to shine. It's going to, it's going to pop through. There's always confidence is always, in my opinion, evident through just looking at the photos without having to read about the descriptions. I love that you've got a lot of um, text about your images. This is really good. I love reading it because it gives me information about what you're trying to do, where you're going, and if in fact you felt you achieved it. Don't be too hard on yourself. You're touching on the poetic, and that is what's really, really nice for me to see. From teaching perspective. You may have some spots on your negative, but I mean on your sensor, but I'm not sure about that. We'll have to look at some more of your photos when you're shooting in certain conditions, but it looks like you might. But we'll talk about that later. Don't hesitate to come in and talk to me too. Always happy, always willing and able. All right, so good stuff. We're now looking at the work of Mary. Mary, let me see. Notes all in manual. Um, all the ISO was in 100. I'm just looking at my notes. And okay, I made a note to myself here. Shoot more. Um, okay, good. So let's look at the work. And let me see. Mary Colbreth. Here we go. Photography can indeed be habit forming. Beware. When I took my first photo class and I saw my image coming out of the developer, I was hooked from that moment. It was a crappy photograph, but it was my crappy photograph, and I loved it. I loved it seeing coming to life, if you will, from a transparent chemical, the developer. But anyway, yes, I know it's heavy, but it takes time. Yeah. But I completely agree with you here. I hate when I see it and I don't have the camera with me. So All right, back to your work. Really nice introduction. Just looking at these here, we see that three of them are very specific, like the others, but they're enough different that they justify, I think, being in there. So it sticks to a thematic being. This one is a little different, obviously, the critter one because of the critter, and then the last one is very different. So it's good to have difference. When you do everything thematic, it says that you're either very advanced or you didn't have much to choose from. I'm not saying that you had the latter here, because some of these are really beautiful. Let's look at this, and I hope that you're pleased with these. Um, Very nice. You've got some nice focus. This is probably just the carcass of this critter, I think. Maybe no, no, maybe not. It looks like it's got feelers there still. But very nice. I think some of these are just gorgeous. They're a little bit flat, but that doesn't bother me at all on these because seems to suit it. If you boosted up the contrast, it might hurt them. Just a quick example. Uh, okay, let's go. If I just boost it up, okay. I'm on a different computer today to see if it's faster. But if we make it darker, I mean, you may like it. You may not. Let's take a look at what this looks like. Tab LL. So it transforms the picture, very much, and it makes it harder. Obviously, the more contrast you have, the harder it kind of is, and that's not always, it just depends on the subject matter, naturally. But it's really, really beautiful. I really like this work. This one too is very nice. You've got a little peeker coming in here. I like the sharp edge. You may have a little bit too much here or a little bit too much here. I'm not sure. But let me see. What's cropping is the shortcut key is R. So if we were to bring this, oops, how come? What? Let me see. Done. Why is that not working for me? Oh, it must have on a special tool. I don't want. No. Doesn't really matter. This is this is the first time I've run into this problem. Again, I'm on this. This is a new computer that I'm on. Um, Crop and straighten. So it's not configured the way I like it. But I still don't understand why this won't let me pivot. Anyway, I'll get over this, and that's too bad. I'll be hornswoggled. I will be. Anyway, what I was thinking about is just including this black line and then just the edge of this. Maybe a little bit more here because this is so bright. This calls attention to itself. So that's one of these two. I think are little spots that I would spot out in Photoshop. I mean in Lightroom. If you go to the adjustment brush, this little tool can be pretty. Wow, look at that. Okay, Command Z. Yeah, this is configured completely differently than the one I'm used to working on. So my mistake, folks. I'm sorry. But if I do something like that and something like this, it just cleans out the spots. I say done. I'll do L. And you could see, that just cleans them up a little bit. This becomes more important now. But it's a very nice photo. I'm talking details now here because these are lovely photos. Okay. I think my favorite has got to be, this one. It's just, there's nothing, this could be printed huge or tiny, be a little whisper or an aria. I'm not sure, but very lovely, this one. Kudos to you. This one too is kind of interesting. It's a little out of focus. That's bound to happen at 1/30th of a second. You're at ISO 3200, so you know what you're doing. This is really good. It's a little askew. I like that there's some characters here. So I mean, I always like, whenever there's something in there, I consider them, characters, subject, characters in a play, if you will, whether they be people or trees or elements. So I like the narrative aspect of this, but I'm not exactly sure where it goes. I think by far, yeah, this one is lovely, lovely, lovely. A little too bright here, but you've got a vignette on it. It's not too strong, so that's good. You're showing restraint, and folks, restraint is a hard thing to do once you've found, all the sliders and some of the goodies, if you will. But excellent work, excellent work, Mary. Mary Ellen. Okay, and now we have the work of Christy Diaz. I'm so happy to see you printing and to see your work up here. Let me see your introduction. Where are you? Where are you? Okay. All right, here we are. You need to write more about your images. We can see what the photos are of, but we want to get more detail about what you're feeling, what you're looking for. Um, some of you, I think one of you is even putting the metadata, which is kudos to you. That is really cool. Just by taking that extra time to write that stuff, and yeah, I'll identify who that is a little later. Um, that tells me that you're spending it's like studying, because you're taking note of the metadata that from your camera, and then you're posting it. So that's reaffirming your knowledge about what happens to the different relationships of the shutter speed and aperture when you're pointing at something in a certain condition. All right. um, okay, I think some of my favorite photos are, you could put together a nice picture. We know that from the very beginning. um, and this one I think is the simplest, and I love it. It's just really clean. It's very elegant. It's a tiny, tiny bit soft focus, but that's not a big deal. You're shooting with a 70D, very nice camera. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I like this one. Where are you going with it? What's this becomes a character in the play. This little critter becomes a character in the play. So just be aware of that. I mean, lights and shadows are inevitable in anything because of its inclusion or its exclusion. But if you had a hand coming out of here, that would change it. If you just tilted your framing and moved a step to the right of this, you would get rid of that. Maybe there'd be other distractors there, but I don't know. And we might have, a way of framing this a little bit better, because here it looks like you're cropping a bit on the bottom, while you've got a little room on the top. I'm not sure, but just again, things to consider. This one is just perfect. There's nothing I mean, it's a sculpture. Fantastic. Okay, let's see. Oh, one of the things you didn't do, Christy, was name your files. Don't lose points, please. I mean, you're sizing them down, but you already lost, a couple of chunky points right there. Um, you've got skill. Don't let yourself lose the points on just procedural formalities. Um, okay, this one too is nice. It's a little soft on the focus. I like that you have a photo here. Um, I don't know what it is. This becomes something interesting, but I don't know what it is. So it's a portrait of this light, and the relationship with how the light falls on the keyboard. Um, but why do we have extra space here? And why is this cable shown, whereas this frame cut? So these are things that you have to think about. If you move your frame a little bit here, maybe we'd include the rest of that frame. Maybe that would help. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. I didn't. Here, you've composed a nice photo. It's nicely framed. You just almost got the tip there. This is a little peeker in here, but everything's nice and clean. But I'm really not getting that this is more about lights and shadows. Like I said, inevitably every photo has lights and shadows, but it's just predominantly about it. Not so sure. This one too, I like the spooky factor of it, but it's a little soft focus. It's a little askew. And I'm not sure. This becomes a little character, this little peeker, because you've got so much space, and then when something breaks that little space, like here, it calls attention to itself. So please challenge yourself more, Christy, and take note of naming your files. You're going to lose just chunky points on this. All right. Glad to see your work, though. All right. Next, we're looking at Latoya Kroll. Whoops. Let me see. Okay, let me see, Latoya. I'm looking at the notes. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. I started to take a lot of notes. I had a late start. I have to agree with that. Latoya, you had a late start. I want you to pay more attention to giving more of an introduction. You've got talent in putting stuff together, but now I want you to see that you're actually challenging yourself. I noticed that I looked at the metadata. Yes, I'm a metadata peeker, or pixel peeper, as some people call it. But you could tell that all these photos are they're coming from a creative source, a creative foundation. So this is really good to see. But they are all taken in 20 minutes. How much can you challenge yourself on that? You can. One person I think did all their pictures in 3 minutes. In one occasion. I don't know where that was, but that's just way too much. You want to. I understand we're busy, and you want to make that exception, not the rule. But even then, look, these are all creative pictures. Look at this. They stand nicely by themselves. But have if you had instead of 20 minutes, an hour, and you separated that over like 3 shooting days or 2 hours, can you imagine the power that you'd have? I mean, you'd be building some confidence here. And there's nothing so nice as to present work that you're very proud of. When you do something like this, it's very nice. It's very, very poetic. Little anomalies, come into question. So, professional photographers may come in and clean that up physically or afterwards. But I see what you're going for, and it's nicely framed. Good stuff. This one too, it's out of focus, and it's the ISO is super high, 1/8 of a second, so it's out of focus. Its grain is huge, but I still like it. It's going to be a little flat. See that? But if you boost the contrast and stuff like that, it's just the picture may fall apart. Who knows? Sometimes it's good to see. Well, it's already gone so far. Let's take it to the extreme. But I like what you were looking at here. But you needed to take more time to get it down so that it was more in focus and it wasn't so noisy. Noisy meaning grain. Okay. This one too, very nice. I could see what you're doing. I don't know why it fell on this reflection. Why you chose this background. I like what you're doing. You're putting a heart on here, but why specifically this background? You see what I mean? So you've already walked, made a couple of steps, but the background is something that you may have wanted to explore a little bit more. Unless you're saying, that I don't know, the heart is a landscape, or the heart is always half full or half empty. But you see what you can read into it. Also, these lights become an issue. Okay, and be careful. You've got, I see you're on normal. You've got a brightness value. You're changing that. I just want you to be aware that that's happening. That's something that you have to force on your own. So be aware of that. Okay, I like this. This is very similar to this one, except not as poetic. Here you're making asymmetrical lines and patterns. Here you're working more with a symmetry. It's going to be harder to do something like that when you're working on a little bit close up, because then some of the lines are not going to be perfectly symmetrical, and that's going to call attention to itself. Also, when you have anomalies like this, it's going to say, hey, look at me. But I see what you're going for. Shoot more. This I like. It's a very simple picture, but why not put you in focus instead of the floor? You see what I'm saying? Focus in on the shadow, on your shadow, rather than on the wood. And there's different techniques to do that. Or, actually make it super out of focus. Let me see. Let me experiment with that. Let's see if I can show you this. Okay, I'm going to do an adjustment brush. All I'm going to do is the sharpness. I'm just going to kill the sharpness on everything. I'm going to make a big brush. And okay, so I finished with that. And I'm going to try one more thing. This might work, it might not. But I just want you to think about the possibilities. Don't just tease us by showing us that you've got skill. Bring it to fruition. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Can we see a difference? We could see a massive difference. Does it work? I don't know. That's a decision you have to make as the artist, as the photographer. So please don't just lead us halfway, because that's what some of these feel like. But still, it's very evident, Latoya, that you've got a lot of skill. So shoot more, please, and use different camera programs than just the normal one. Okay, G takes us here. Let's look at Amanda LaRose. Amanda, let me see. Amanda, a bit challenging. Short period of time. Yep. Okay. I try not to do over the photos when overdo. Okay, good. Showing restraint is a very advanced skill, by the way, folks. Whether you're in beginning class or you've taken years of photography. Okay, yes, Amanda, you're the one who put this stuff. This is fantastic. This is going to be very helpful for others because they can study what these things did and maybe then start to get the understanding of, the relationship between these three things, the ISO, the aperture, and the shutter speed. So kudos, super kudos to you. And second of all, super kudos to you for just coming up with fantastic images. They're all very nice. You said that you're short on time, but they all show you're looking down, you're looking side, you're looking a little bit up, you're looking at organic, man-made stuff, you're looking at patterns and geometry, but they all have to do with lights and shadows, I think. So very strong stuff. Amanda, you get a gold star. Um, Very nice. And I like that this is sharp and focused right here. So you've got a specific focal point. Um, so you're at 5.6 on 50 to 250 at 235. So this is going to have a real narrow depth of field because you're at 235, the focal length. Good going. And let me see, what program are you shooting in? You're shooting in all manual, I believe. Yes. So yeah, very nice too. Very simple. I like it. Might have gone a little darker on the bottom. I don't know, but it's nicely balanced. So I think that you did a good job with your eye, and I appreciate what you said about not going too heavy on the, when you're converting into black and white. This I think is one of my favorite pictures. It's just so simple. It's so clean. Um, yeah, very nice. And there's a little bit of pixelation going on here, and I don't know why. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it could be just from bringing it down from the original size to 800. But you guys see when it starts breaking apart. That's not. The picture was in focus. I'm not saying anything about that, but lovely, lovely picture. Very strong, very confident. When you do minimalist things like this and they work, that's power to you. This one I think is not the strongest one because I mean in the context, these four are very strong. It's the only organic one too, or predominantly organic one. But these first four just, forgive the pun, overshadow this one. Maybe this means something to you. And this is a tricky thing, and we've got to talk about it just really briefly. When something means something to you, okay, and I'm just going to go off on my own little, spiel here. Let's say, this is a tree, and let's say I'm the photographer, and I took this photo because it means a lot to me. This is where I sat down with my girlfriend, and we first, kissed, and I don't know what. So this tree has special value to me. But if I don't know about that as a viewer that didn't take this photo, and I don't know, the photographer, I'm just going to be able to see what's shown to me. So maybe this was at night. Was it at night? Which would make it more of a challenge. It looks like this is in the morning. It's weird because it could be at night. But you have to be careful about putting in value. Are other people going to be able to see the value that you think is inherent in the image? But remember, you as a photographer have knowledge, privy knowledge. Knowledge that's privy to you that nobody else knows. So if some other folks don't value it as much as you might, it may be because you're putting value on it that may not be visible to the viewers. Okay, excellent work. Very, very good. That's Amanda. Now let's look at Miss Elena McClanahan. And here, let me see. We start out with some good confidence. There's another light bulb picture. This is done very nicely, good, strong. This is nice. I don't know. If you guys were to think about this, which do you think is her strongest one? Which one do you think has more confidence? I'd go with number 1 and number 4. We can see lights and shadows here, but they don't feel as strong. These seem more poetic. This one, I don't know. Let's take a look at them closely. Everything's in focus, really nice, well done. And let me see, what are you shooting in? Okay, manual, good for you, Elena. And when I say good for you and that kind of stuff, I hope I don't sound patronizing. That's not my intention at all. It's difficult for me because I can't see you guys and what have you. So please, well, this one it's too soft. The focus, it's 1/200th of a second, 1/20th of a second at ISO 1000. So you're going the right way, but it's just too soft. I don't know where you're going with it. Here I don't have to know. It's just right in front of me. It's just a stark, sculptural quality, and just really nicely framed, bold too. That you're cutting this right. Oh, Very strong. This one too has some confidence because it's a strong form. Whoops, what happened there? Um, it's a little soft on the focus, and that could be attributed to the 1/6 of a second. Boosting your ISO would have helped you on that one, or opening up the aperture. So that's why you're a little soft on that. But you're showing confidence here that you've got this the door nicely framed, and you're showing confidence in that you clipped the bottom and top parts of the star. This one is really lovely. Here it doesn't really matter if it's in focus or not. It's just really nice shadow. So this one's a really confident one, and kudos to you for this one. This one's nice. It's nicely framed. I know exactly where this is actually. I just realized. Um, so yeah, you've got the lights and shadows, and you had to expose specifically for this. So good job. But I'm a little biased towards the artistic, the bold, and here these two pictures, um, oh, there we go. These two pictures are just very strong, and kudos to you. Now, because I like these doesn't make these better or anything like that. It's just coming from my perspective. Remember, when I say anything like that, like this picture, it doesn't feel so strong. It's soft focus. There's a little bit of light here. I don't know. I don't know where you're going. I don't feel like you're making a statement on it. These are my opinions. Again, it's your guys' job to consider my opinions and then to check them if you don't think about it. I mean, if you don't agree, but consider it and consider what your classmates are saying. All of you are putting up some. Let's just briefly talk about comments. All of you are putting pretty good comments. Some of you are kind of minimalist on your comments, and it feels like you're just putting something up. I hope that doesn't sound too harsh, but it kind of feels, just give us some more substance. Remember, these are your classmates. You're not always going to have, 12 other people looking and paying attention at your work specifically. That's one of the rare things about school. You don't always have that. Later on, when you show work, chances are it's going to be your friends, and they're either going to be too hard or too soft or blah blah. But here we're all kind of objective. We don't know each other, so practice your constructive critique skills. All right, now we're looking at the work of Priscilla, and Priscilla, I'm so happy to see your posting work. Really, really, really happy. The only thing I'm looking at my notes, and you didn't name the images, so you're going to lose big points on this. And all your images were the iPhone. Please don't. I'm really happy to see, excuse me, whoops, that you're posting. Very happy about that. But again, please don't make shooting with your smartphones a rule. If it has to, make it the exception. But all of them, if there's any way I can help, let me know. Maybe we can, lend you a point and shoot or something like that. But I can't do anything if you don't let me know. And if you view the video critiques, you'll see that next time you won't lose the points. Okay. One of the pictures I think was older. Don't, folks, please be careful about not putting older photos in there. What I'm saying about that is the dates. 19. I don't know if that was part of. Don't just post stuff that you shot before. That disturbs the whole process. And I'm not just saying this to you, Priscilla. I'm saying this to everybody. But don't just post stuff that's going to make you look good. That's not the point. The point is to shoot and challenge yourself based on the theoretical and experiential knowledge that we've gained, and putting it into effect within a week's time. Since you know the assignment. Okay. So you're going to lose points on that for not challenging yourself, and also for not naming them. Yeah. So they're all soft focus. The ISO is really kind of high on them. I'm happy to talk to you, Priscilla. This is your nicest constructed photo, except for this little edge here. This bowl doesn't bother me, but this one doesn't add anything, in my opinion. So this could have been nice, but it's too soft and out of focus, and then move I don't know what it is, that crackers or a book, but that doesn't add anything. Think about all these things, even the angle of the table, what's being shown, those legs of a bar stool or something like that. Everything adds to our observation, to the viewer's observation. So please take that in consideration, and and please, Priscilla, let me know if I can help you. You I don't know if you don't tell me. Okay, what else? Okay, all right, now we have the work of Camellia. And Camellia, okay, we're seeing some, okay, we've got Flash on numbers 2 and 5. So I'm just looking at my notes. So, um, so this is not good. 2 and 5. For some reason, it went off here. You don't need it to go off on this one. This tells me that you're not paying attention to your camera's settings. Please do. I know you're shooting with a Coolpix and they're perfectly fine cameras, but learn how to use the program modes so that you can have more control on them. They're all in normal. It doesn't feel like you challenged yourself. I have to say, um, this may begin to be, an interesting picture, but for lights and shadows, I'm not so sure. It's more about geometricity to me. And then this peaker, just disrupts everything else. It becomes a huge anomalous aspect of the picture, therefore claiming a lot of attention. So what is it that you're saying? I don't know, unless that's a big empty step, which, no, I don't know. But now that I mention it, it's a pretty big step. But anyway, don't make us work so hard for it. What is it why do you want us to look at this, and why does the flash have to be on? So these just don't feel like you really put yourself into them. This is beginning to be nice, but again, for lights and shadows, I'm not so sure. Um, yeah. So again, I want everybody to challenge themselves. That's how you're going to learn in this class. And I'm always available to meet, to talk on the phone. This coming Thursday at 2 o'clock, I'm going to be hosting an open workshop. So you're welcome to drop in. It's about Lightroom and basically image manipulations or any questions that you have in general. Okay, again, I hope this was helpful, and I'll be posting soon.